Hey everybody, today we're kicking off the first of 4 episodes that are going to cover how to harden your Pepakura pieces. The first topic we're going to cover is fiberglass resin, what they are, how they work, and which one to use. Okay, so here's another topic that seems to generate a great deal of confusion, and a whole lot of people don't seem to truly understand what it is or how it works. So before we start using or applying any resins, we're going to clear things up once and for all. First, let me start with the name in question, fiberglass resin. Now, the name itself can be very misleading because the material itself doesn't contain any fiberglass at all. When 99% of people say fiberglass resin, what they're really talking about is polyester resin. Everyone has seen this stuff at one point or another on the shelves in stores. More than likely, a lot of you have at one point or another purchased one of these products. Polyester resin is used in conjunction with fiberglass materials. The fiberglass is coated with resin and it is applied over multiple layers until the desired strength and thickness is achieved. This allows the creation of rigid objects such as body parts for cars, hulls for boats, and even parts for costume and prop people like you and me. Polyester resin is what's known as a complete liquid resin. What that means is the polyester already contains everything it needs to become a solid, yet it's a liquid. This remains a liquid as long as it's kept in a sealed container. This is mainly due to a chemical called styrene. Styrene is a solvent that is added to the polyester and keeps it in liquid form. When styrene comes into contact with oxygen, it begins to evaporate. So if a container of polyester resin was ever left open, the solvents would slowly evaporate and the resin would turn into a solid. This process could take months if you let it happen naturally. That's why every container of polyester resin comes with a chemical accelerator called MEKP. MEKP, also known as the liquid hardener, is the catalyst that speeds up the curing process of the polyester resin, allowing it to cure in a more practical time frame of hours instead of months. When MEKP is added to the polyester resin, a chemical reaction happens causing the resin to heat up dramatically. The increase in temperature speeds up the evaporation of the solvent, causing the polyester to link together and harden. Now, if this sounds like nasty stuff, it should, because it is. Styrene is a toxic chemical with a very strong and noxious odor, which can linger around for months on end. Working with polyester resin absolutely requires the use of a respirator in a well-ventilated space, as well as gloves and eye protection. Yeah, it's no joke. For those of you who find this to be somewhat of a put-off, or, consider it a hazard, rest assured, because there is an alternative. That alternative is epoxy resin. Epoxy resin is what's called a 2-part resin, not a complete resin like polyester. It consists of a part A and a part B. Good quality epoxy is what's known as a 100% solid, meaning it doesn't require chemicals like styrene to keep it in liquid form. It's used in the same way as polyester when working with fiberglass products, and has a fantastic adhesive property if you have to bond 2 surfaces together. Epoxy resin will never turn into a solid unless parts A and B are mixed together, and the fact that it doesn't require any chemicals like styrene means it doesn't put off any strong or toxic odors as it cures. Epoxy also heats up as it cures, and the heat is required in order for the epoxy to convert from a liquid to a solid. Please note that gloves and eye protection should be worn at all times when dealing with epoxy resin. A huge bonus is that epoxy resin can be used indoors without the worry of a horrible smell or killing anyone. And this is extremely useful for people like me who live in parts of the world where there are cold winters and where keeping products at their required operating temperatures becomes a big factor. Another fact worth knowing is that when polyester resin cures and the styrene has evaporated, the hardened resin will shrink a small degree due to the loss of material. So when polyester resin is applied to a surface such as cardstock, which is neither strong nor rigid, it can sometimes cause the piece to warp or distort as it cures. I myself use epoxy over polyester resin just because of the added bonuses it offers. I've left a link to the specific product that I use in the description for this video, just in case you wanted to find out more about it. Both readily available types of polyester and epoxy cost around the same amount, which is about $70 to $80 per gallon, and can be found at various automotive, hobby, and art supply stores. So now we know that when someone says fiberglass resin, they're more than likely talking about polyester resin. And now that you know a little bit more about the types of resins, how they're different, and how they work, you can make a well-informed decision when the time comes for you to pick one out. Well, this was a short episode, but I wanted to finally clear things up before we went ahead and hardened anything. I hope that this episode, albeit short, has been informative, and that a lot of you learned something new today. In the next episode, part 2 of this 4-part series, we're going to be moving step by step, covering how to properly resin coat your Pepakura pieces. That video should be up in about a day or two, so until then, keep making, keep building, keep creating. See you next time.